stuff, just to give you frame of reference. It's here. So that means this would be cerebellum on this side. Cerebellum's been removed over here. This would be the temporal lobe. It's been chunked off in here, so you're looking at a little bit of insula space in there. Okay? So, this is vertebral coming in. This actually is internal carotid as it comes through. So it's feeding, but it's not part of the circle of Willis. And I'll explain that in a little bit. Vertebral comes up and it supplies. The two vertebrals come together along the base of the pons. So that's going to be the basilar artery that's there. You've got these pontines that are coming off here. First one off once it gets up here, just for frame of reference. This is the optic chiasm. This is the pituitary stalk coming off. And for some reason, she always labels the little boobs. Okay, so you got the little mammillary bodies there. That just cracks me up. I don't know why she always does that. So, you got these. This first one goes back to the back of the cerebral cortex. That's the posterior cerebral. Okay, so that's the bottom part of the circle of Willis. It then comes up and around, and it's got this one that hooks up to this middle part up here. Rather than a branch, they call them communicating arteries. Okay, so it's a communicating artery. So you got posterior cerebral, and then you got a posterior communicating artery coming up. Remember, this is internal carotid coming in. It's not part of the deal, but a little piece of it's part of the circle, because this whole thing is the circle of Willis. Continuing on from here, you've got anterior cerebral, and it goes all the way up by that olfactory lobe. There's an anterior communicating, little tiny piece, and it connects them together. And then you're going to go back down on the circle this way. If there's any blockages around this area, because it's so critical. Remember, 60% of your sensory stuff was around your eye. If you don't have the pituitary and the hypothalamus working, you're toast anyhow, along with all this junk. So, this circle is providing a bypass system in case something would happen. It can come in from this side or it can come in around this way, all right? Now, the the internal carotid comes out and it goes to this thing. This one's called the middle cerebral. Okay, that's your major stroker. Because if you think about it, those plaques are coming up to the carotid and they just go up here until they get to a piece that's too small for them to get through anymore. Then it blows out. Alright, so that's your stroker. If you guys remember your nervous system stuff. So let's say it's on the right side. So you've got sensation on the right side that gets jacked up, but because the motor functions decussate, remember they crossed over? That means you're going to be left-sided, you're going to be paralyzed on, and this side you'll be numb on. Okay, and your speech is going to get all goofed up too. Here's part of the problem that you also have in here. Do you guys remember that Wernicke's and Broca's areas that were those little dotted circles on the cerebral cortex? That stuff's back here, and those fibers are going to go through here. Remember the back one, the Wernicke's were where they were hearing the words. And they were recognizing the words. And then they were putting together the motor function of the response up front in the motor cortex. So if this is blown out, it's totally jacked up that linkage. So those people they have trouble speaking, right off the bat. They might not even be able to do that. That does not mean that this side's blown out. So this side may be working right. So remember, this is where I told you guys, always assume the inbound is working. That's why as PTs and OTs out there, they're going to get really pissed and frustrated right off the bat because they may be hearing everything that you're saying to them, and then if you say things like, man, are they stupid? They're not stupid. They're hearing everything of it. They just can't say the word out, and they're going to get mad. Okay? I gave you those examples of Jake, remember the little kid? Okay, in the wheelchair. And then I gave you the example of Bill Berge, the guy that had Alzheimer's. Okay? Always assume that stuff is good. Otherwise, you're going to really embarrass yourself out there. All right? So we've got these things going on. Circle of Willis, anterior communicating, anterior cerebral, posterior communicating, posterior cerebral. That's the circle of Willis around that stuff. It has to supply oxygen and blood to that part of the brainstem and to the pituitary and the hypothalamus.